Final bid on the lakefront lot.
Close it.
Is this cleared? It is cleared. Going once.
Where's the owner?
Proceed.
Is he staff?
That's the groundskeeper. I need the file.
Not now.
Before the gavel falls. Someone move him. The file.
Step behind the rope.
I am behind it.
You are interrupting a lawful sale.
I asked to see the file.
Do I continue? Continue. This is ugly.
Sold in 10 seconds. We have a final bid.
Not before the file.
Your whole life is paperwork now.
Can she say that?
Just finish it. That land was never yours.
Why isn't he yelling?
Because he knows he lost.
How can you sell land you never owned? Council says proceed. Then council should read the record.
What record?
The one she hid.
Do not strike that gavel. This is private. Then 6 seconds won't hurt it.
Sheriff, I have a bid. Keep it unstruck. What's happening?
Ask for the file number.
Do you have the document?
This confusion can be handled after the sale.
After the sale, there may not be a lake left to return to.
The auctioneer lifted his gavel over the last lakefront lot, while Elijah Mercer stood behind the rope line in muddy boots, holding a folded photo no one bothered to notice. Sold in 10 seconds, the HOA president whispered, smiling as if his whole life were paperwork she could erase. How can a neighborhood sell land it never owned? Why did the sheriff walk in before the final bid? And why did the quiet black man everyone called the groundskeeper know the file number by heart? By the time the gavel came down, the room would learn that the poorest-looking man at Lake Briar had been protecting a secret worth far more than $18 million. The gavel stayed in the air long enough for the ceiling fan to click 3 times. "Mr. Mercer," Marlene Price said, her smile fixed tight. "Step behind the rope before you make this uglier." Elijah's boots were dark with lakeshore mud. A folded photograph had softened in his hand. He looked at the rope, then at numbered paddles. "I'm behind it. You are interrupting a lawful sale. I asked to see the file." Todd Halverson held his gavel above the green felt table. "Final bid on Parcel 7C stands at $2.8 million. Do I hear 2.9? A man in a navy blazer lifted his paddle. Marlene leaned toward Todd. "Continue." The room smelled of polished wood, bitter coffee, and wet wool. Someone whispered, "That's the groundskeeper." A small laugh followed, then died when Elijah did not look down. "Sir," Sheriff Grace Hollis called from the doorway. Chairs seemed to shift. The fan clicked again. Marlene turned. "Sheriff, this is a private HOA proceeding." "I can see that. This is civil." "Then 60 seconds won't hurt it." Elijah felt the photograph press into his thumb. Lena stood in it barefoot on the unfinished dock, one hand on a rolled map. Todd cleared his throat. "Deposits are certified, and the association has authority under recorded covenants." "Which file number?" Hollis asked. Caleb Trent rose. "We provided all required notices." "I asked which file number." Marlene's jaw shifted. "Caleb." He opened the blue folder, pages stuck under damp fingers. BL-HOA-LS-8821. Elijah's eyes lifted. Sheriff Hollis noticed. So did Rachel Kim, halfway down the aisle with her phone hidden under both hands. "That number is wrong," Elijah said. Marlene gave a sharp laugh. "You don't correct counsel from the cheap seats." "I didn't sit." Faces turned toward the empty folding chair behind him, apart from the tables, too far for participation. Todd lowered his voice. "Maybe we should take 5. "No." Marlene faced the room. "We have unpaid assessments, violations, neglected shoreline, and a man who refuses process." Elijah's fingers tightened around the photograph, then eased. Sheriff Hollis stepped inside. Rain tapped the tall windows. "Mr. Halverson, do not strike that gavel." Todd froze. Marlene's smile disappeared. "On what grounds?" "Potential defect in notice." Caleb shut the folder. "Potential is not enough." "No," Hollis said, but a county investigator outside with a signed hold request is. Bitters looked toward the windows. Todd set the gavel on the felt. It made only a small wooden tap. Elijah, Marlene said, using his first name for the first time. Whatever confusion exists can be handled after the sale. He looked at her. After the sale, there may not be a lake left to return to. Rachel lowered her phone. Arthur Bell muttered, "Lord." Sheriff Hollis came to his side. "Do you have the document?" Elijah unfolded the old envelope from beneath the photograph. Faded blue ink crossed the front. Marlene stared at it. Caleb stared longer. Todd whispered, "What is that?" Elijah slid out the first page, showing the county seal and a date from 20 years earlier. Before he could answer, headlights swept across the windows, and every raised paddle lowered at the same time. At 6:42 a.m., Elijah Mercer drove a rusted nail into the dock board and listened to the lake slap beneath the planks. Cold mist carried pine sap, wet rope, and old leaves. His jacket was patched at one elbow. Mud darkened his boots. Across the water, the clubhouse windows glowed as if the day had already chosen its owners. A white SUV slowed on the gravel path. "Morning, Eli," Linda Carver called. "East steps are slick again." "I'll sand them after breakfast." "You're a lifesaver." She glanced at his cabin. "They still letting you stay there through winter?" "It stays warm enough." Her window rose before he could add anything else. He walked to the young birch near the shore. Its leaves had yellow edges. Lena had tied the sapling to a cedar stake with a soft cloth knot. Practical things still deserved gentleness. Elijah pressed 2 fingers into the soil. "Still holding," he murmured. His phone vibrated. Maya's name lit the cracked screen. "You awake?" he asked. "I'm at rehearsal in 15. A locker slammed behind her. "You remembered tonight?" White shirt. Back row. No clapping before the last note. "That was one time. You bowed twice. I was 9. Her laugh faded. "People are talking about the HOA auction. Someone said they're selling the point lots at noon. They say a lot." "Dad." He looked toward the clubhouse. "I'm handling it." "You always say that when it's bad." A truck hissed above the cabin. "I'll be there tonight," he said. "Promise?" His thumb found a splinter. "Promise." After the call, he went to the shed for a drill and found a laminated order taped to the door. All shoreline maintenance personnel must clear HOA common areas before 10 a.m. No name, no signature. Arthur Bell came down the path in a wool cap, gripping a paper cup. "They put that on your shed, too?" Elijah peeled the tape slowly so it would not lift the paint. "Looks like it." "Common areas," Arthur said. "Your wife argued those maps before half these porches were built. Some people prefer new maps." Arthur's left eyelid twitched. "You need me at noon?" "No." "Elijah." He folded the order once. "Not yet." A golf cart hummed down from the ridge. 2 men in quilted vests stopped near the mailboxes. "Hey," one called. "You maintenance? There's algae by Pier 4. I'll check it when the dock's safe." The other man laughed. "Just tell Marlene he ignored it." Elijah picked up the hammer. "Dock first." The cart rolled away, leaving battery heat and damp gravel. Arthur watched it go. "You let too much pass. I let boards settle before I step on them." At 7:18, Elijah opened the black mailbox at the end of the path. A damp envelope clung to the metal floor. Red ink bled around the seal. Final notice of lion sale. He pulled once. The paper stuck to his palm as if the box did not want to release it. Arthur stepped closer. "Certified?" "No sticker." Addressed right? Elijah turned it over. Not to his cabin. Not to any office. To the abandoned service shed. The clubhouse bell rang once, far too early. His phone buzzed again. Maya had sent a photo of her concert program, her name printed near the bottom. Elijah held the wet notice in one hand and his daughter's name glowing in the other. The clubhouse bell was still fading when Marlene Price stepped onto gravel path, beige heels sinking into wet ground. "Mr. Mercer," she called. "Put tools down." Elijah set the hammer on the dock rail. Mist clung to his jacket. Arthur Bell waited by the mailbox, paper cup cooling in his hand. Marlene held a white binder. "I received your refusal to vacate Common Association property. I received a notice addressed to a shed. That shed sits on the parcel. It isn't a legal mailing address." Her smile tightened. "You don't invent procedure because you dislike the outcome." Elijah opened the damp envelope. "This lists 7C, 7D, and the North Point." "Yes." "Those aren't common areas." A balcony door clicked. A dog barked once. "They became subject to lien after violations, unpaid assessments, and neglect." Arthur's cup bent. "Neglect? He fixed the board you nearly fell through last spring." "This is not your matter. It's my lake, too." "It is the association's lake," Marlene said. "Today, the association corrects a problem." Elijah took a folded copy from his jacket. This agreement was recorded before the ridge expansion. Marlene did not touch it. "Read the first paragraph." "I've read enough homemade paperwork." "It has the county seal. It has your fingerprints all over it." Rachel Kim stopped on the path, leash around her wrist, her other hand near her phone. "My wife filed this," Elijah said. Marlene glanced at the porches. "Your wife is not here to explain what she meant." Arthur stepped forward. "Marlene." "No, this community has carried his exceptions long enough. The cabin, the dock, paying only what he decides to pay. I paid what was owed. You paid what you decided was owed." A gust came off the lake. Marlene turned. Her binder brushed Elijah's hand, and the page slipped from his fingers, landing in wet grass. A dark drop spread across Lena Mercer's signature. Elijah crouched and lifted it by the edges. The blue ink blurred at the L. Rachel whispered, "Oh no!" Marlene heard her. "Ms. Kim, do not record association business." "I'm on a public path." "You're on HOA maintained grounds." "Elijah maintains them," Arthur said. Marlene's eyes cut to him. "Arthur, your garage issue is unresolved." The old man's gaze dropped. Elijah slid the damaged copy into the envelope. "You wanted me embarrassed." "I want compliance." "No. Compliance needed one signature and a proper address." A volunteer murmured, "Maybe take this inside?" "We will," Marlene said. 8 o'clock meeting, clubhouse. Mr. Mercer may attend as the respondent." "As the owner," Elijah said. Marlene laughed softly. "Owner of what? A leaking cabin and a borrowed view?" "I'll be there." "Good. Bring documents that haven't been rained on." Marlene walked toward the clubhouse. Arthur came beside him. "I should have said more." "You said enough." Rachel stepped closer, phone visible. "Mr. Mercer, I got part of it." Elijah looked at the red seal bleeding through the envelope. "Keep it." At the clubhouse steps, Marlene lifted her phone. 8 sharp. Limit him to 2 minutes. Make sure Caleb brings the lien file." Elijah wiped grass water from his palm, but the ink stain stayed on his thumb. At 7:59 p.m., the red timer on the clubhouse table blinked 2 o'clock before anyone let Elijah sit. Rain ticked against the windows. The room smelled of floor wax and damp umbrellas. Marlene Price sat beneath the HOA charter, white binder open. "Mr. Mercer," she said, "take the respondent chair." Elijah looked at the folding chair against the side wall. "Respondent to what charge?" Caleb Trent rose beside her, 39, narrow in a charcoal suit, silver glasses slipping down his nose. "This is an enforcement hearing." "Then I'll stand." Marlene tapped the timer. 2 minutes. Arthur Bell waited in the back row. Rachel Kim sat near the aisle with a yellow pad. Elijah opened his folder. The notices were mailed to a shed. The parcels named for auction were never transferred into HOA control. The easement... The timer beeped once. "Your time begins when you begin," Marlene said. "It already did." He placed a copy on the table. "Recorded May 14th, 2006. Mercer Lake Trust retained title to 7C, 7D, and North Point." Marlene did not touch it. "Caleb?" "The association's position," Caleb said, "is that failure to respond constitutes waiver." Rachel lifted her pen. "Respond to what, if the address was wrong?" "Observers do not examine counsel. The packet says parcel 7G in one place and 7C in another." The timer glowed 0:51. Caleb flipped pages. Paper rasped like dry leaves. "A clerical error does not invalidate the process. It does if the wrong land is being sold." "Enough," Marlene said. The timer beeped again. 00. "Your statement period has expired." Elijah held the deed halfway across the table. No one took it. Caleb read from the file. September 3rd, delinquency. September 20th, intent to lien. October 5th, final demand. October 17th, authorization for sale. "Who signed receipt?" Elijah asked. Caleb paused. Marlene answered. "The service log confirms delivery." "To the shed." "To the property." "A shed can't receive mail." "It received yours," she said. "With no call, no email, and the wrong address," Elijah said. Marlene closed her binder. "The board cannot keep indulging private interpretations. People pay dues. They don't hide behind sentimental documents." Rachel said, softer, "That was his wife's document." "Then it should have been managed properly." The heat vent kicked on, breathing dust-warm air over Elijah's boots. He slipped the copy back into his folder. Caleb pushed a resolution forward. "Motion to proceed with public auction at noon tomorrow." "Second," said a man Elijah did not know. Rachel stood. "You can't vote with a disputed address and wrong parcel number." Marlene tapped the dead timer with one red nail. "You are out of order." "I'm a homeowner." "You're out of order." Elijah turned enough to see Rachel's face. "Don't risk your standing." She swallowed. "Maybe standing is the point." Caleb looked at the deed in Elijah's folder. His hand hovered over it, then retreated when Marlene began the vote. "All in favor?" Hands lifted, some fast, some halfway. Arthur kept his down. Rachel kept standing. "Carried," Marlene said. The timer, though finished, blinked red at the table's edge like a warning light no one knew how to turn off. The school parking lot glowed under sodium lights when Elijah turned off the truck at 8:31 p.m. The bouquet slid against the passenger door, 6 white flowers wrapped in grocery paper, stems damp from the cup holder. Through the auditorium wall came piano notes and children clearing their throats. He had changed in the cabin, but his shirt still carried lake wind. His phone buzzed on the seat. "Maya." He answered before the second vibration. "I'm here." "Don't come in." The words were small, not angry. That made them harder. Elijah looked at the doors. "What happened?" "Nothing." "Maya?" A locker slammed on her end, then whispers. "They saw a video." "What video?" "You know what video." His fingers closed around the cold wheel. From the path? Someone clipped it, made it look like you refused to leave. Connor said his mom called you the man who thinks the lake owes him. That isn't on you. It is when they ask if we're getting kicked out. He picked up the bouquet, then set it down so carefully the paper barely crinkled. I promised I'd be in the back row. Dad, please, I can't sing if everyone turns around to look at you. The auditorium doors opened. Warm light spilled across pavement. Applause rolled out, then shut away. Elijah leaned back. Where are you? Girls' hallway. Ms. Brenner thinks I'm getting water. Put your hand on the wall. What? Just for a second. A pause. Okay. Is it cold? Yeah. Then you're there. Not in that video. Not at the lake. Just there. She breathed once. You always do that. Does it help? No. Another pause. A little. Sing the first note for your mother. Don't. All right. I mean, don't say it like that. I'll cry. The truck smelled of old coffee, wet wool, and flowers. A knock struck the window. Rachel Kim stood outside, rain beads on her dark hair, phone pressed against her coat. He rolled the window halfway. I'm sorry, she said. I didn't post it. Maya heard. Who's that? Ms. Kim from the lake. Rachel leaned closer. Maya, I sent the full clip to your father. Maya was quiet. Elijah said, Go inside, baby. I don't want people looking at me. Then let them hear you before they decide what they see. Only the piano came through the walls. Then Maya whispered, Are you leaving? No. But you won't come in? I'll stay right here. Okay. The call ended. Her name disappeared, leaving his reflection in the dark screen. Rachel stepped back. Marlene's group chat is pushing it hard. I took screenshots. Keep them. I can do more. Not tonight. You shouldn't have to sit out here. Elijah rubbed his thumb over one bent pedal. She asked me to. Rachel looked toward the auditorium. My nephew asked why that lady talked to you like you weren't grown. What did you tell him? That grown people can be wrong in public. He nodded once. She did not move. The packet Caleb read tonight had attachments. I saw one page when he turned it. Elijah looked at her. It had Lena's name. The first notes of the choir rose through rain-cooled air. Elijah held the white flowers against his chest outside the closed doors, while Rachel unlocked her phone and searched for the photograph she had taken. Rachel's phone lit the truck cab with a crooked photograph of Caleb Trent's packet. Zoom there, Elijah said. Rain needled the windshield. The choir inside the school held one high note, then broke into applause. Rachel stood outside his open window, thumb trembling over the screen. This page? Lower. The image blurred, then caught 3 lines near the bottom. Owner response acknowledged. Beneath it was a signature. Elijah stopped moving. Rachel looked at him. Is that Lena's? It's meant to be. He took the phone as if the glass could bruise. This is dated August 3rd, 2024. So? My wife died in 2022. The auditorium doors opened. Parents came out. Elijah handed the phone back before anyone could study his face. Rachel whispered, I'm sorry. Send it to me. Maya stepped into the rain with her choir folder against her chest. She saw the bouquet. You didn't come in. You asked me not to. She took the flowers, eyes on his phone. What happened? A paper has your mother's name where it shouldn't. I'm coming with you. No. School. Dad. I'm going to the county office before the auction. Maya nodded too fast. Then go. At 8:14 a.m., the records office smelled of toner, dust, and lemon cleaner. Fluorescent lights buzzed over brown deed books. Beatrice Shaw, 68, sat behind the counter with silver hair pinned tight and glasses on a chain. She squinted. "Mercer?" "Yes, ma'am." "I remember your wife. She brought her own pencil because ours were too soft." Elijah placed the printed photo on the counter. "I need the original notice log." Beatrice's hand hovered over her keyboard. "HOA lien sales are downstairs after 9. This one has a dead woman signing it." Rachel stood beside him. "I took the picture at the meeting." Beatrice looked at her. "That can become trouble." "It already was." Keys clicked. A printer coughed awake. Beatrice handed Elijah a visitor badge. "Table 4. No pens. If anyone asks, I am verifying a public index number." By 8:42, 2 signature cards lay under the old lamp. It flickered, dimmed, then hummed back. Lena's real signature curved wide on the L, firm and slanted. The packet signature was narrow, careful in all the wrong places. Rachel whispered, "I can see it." Elijah kept his fingers above the paper. She crossed the M late. Beatrice brought a thin folder. "Certified mail receipt should be clipped here." The clip was empty. "Could it be scanned?" Rachel asked. "It would show a barcode." Beatrice tapped the margin. "There is no barcode." Elijah read the service address. "Maintenance Shed B." Beatrice's mouth tightened. "That is not a person." "No." "And not the registered address." "No." From behind the shelves, a man called, "B, phone for you. HOA Council." The lamp flickered again, making Lena's true signature vanish for half a second. Beatrice pushed the folder toward Elijah. "5 minutes before I log this." Rachel's phone buzzed. "Marlene says you harassed staff here." Another message reached Elijah from an unknown number. "Stay away from the auction or deputies will remove you." Beatrice lifted the desk phone. "Copy what matters." Footsteps sounded in the hall, hard soles moving toward the records room. The footsteps stopped outside table 4. Deputy Owen Pike entered first, rain shining on his tan jacket. He was 31, broad-faced, with a trimmed beard and a habit of touching the radio at his collar. Caleb Trent came behind him. "Mr. Mercer," Pike said, "step away from those records." Elijah kept both hands flat on the table. "They're public." Caleb pointed at the folder. He removed controlled documents. Beatrice Shaw came around the counter. "No, he didn't. I pulled them." "Beatrice, this is an active lien matter." "This is a records office." Rachel lifted her phone. "Deputy, I photographed the missing receipt page." "Ma'am, put that away." "No." Her voice cracked. Elijah turned slightly. "Rachel." She lowered it, but the screen caught the empty clip under the lamp. Pike said, "We got a complaint that Mr. Mercer threatened board members and interfered with auction prep." Beatrice snapped. "He asked for a file." Caleb's glasses slid down. "He said the association would regret proceeding." Elijah's jaw moved once. "I said the record would show who proceeded." That sounded threatening to Mrs. Price. "Only if the record is." Pike exhaled. "Sir, I'm not deciding the property issue here. Come with me while we sort it out." Rachel stepped into the aisle. "You're taking him because Caleb is embarrassed? Don't make this harder." Elijah gathered the photograph. He left the county folder where it lay. Outside, courthouse steps shone with rain and leaves. A woman at the metal detector watched Elijah pass and looked away too late. Pike opened the rear door. "You're not under arrest right now." "Then I'll sit in front." Pike hesitated. Caleb watched from the top step. "Please," the deputy said. Elijah folded himself into the back. The plastic seat smelled of disinfectant and old vinyl. His knees touched the divider. Rachel stood under the awning, both hands around her phone. At the sheriff's office, the holding room had a metal bench, a narrow window, and a clock that clicked too loud. Pike placed Elijah's folder on a desk outside the glass. Water? No, thank you. I have to write the statement. Write all of it. I will. The door shut. Cold moved through the bench into Elijah's palm. His fingers stiffened against the metal. From the hallway came Marlene's voice. He made staff feel unsafe. We cannot allow intimidation before a lawful sale. Sheriff Grace Hollis answered, Lower. You called this in as a threat. It was. Did he raise his voice? He didn't need to. For a second, Elijah heard Maya's choir instead of the clock, one clean note held behind closed doors. The chain at his neck caught on his collar. He worked the clasp with clumsy fingers, failing twice before it opened. Lena's ring slid into his hand. He wrapped it in the folded photograph and set it on the bench beside him. Pike returned with a paper cup. Sheriff wants 5 minutes. Elijah looked through the glass at Caleb near the copy machine. The auction is still at noon. Pike didn't answer. Deputy, I heard bidder registration moves to 11. The clock clicked again. Elijah picked up the ring, closed his fist around it, and watched Caleb slide one page from his folder into his briefcase. Open the briefcase, Sheriff Hollis said. Caleb's hand stopped on the latch. The hallway smelled of burnt coffee and rainwater. Behind the glass, Elijah sat with Lena's ring closed in his fist. Caleb adjusted his glasses. Sheriff, that is privileged association material. That page came from his folder. It was copied for review. Elijah stood. Then the copy should still be there. Pike opened the door. Mr. Mercer, stay seated. He can stand, Hollis said. Mr. Trent? Only the wall clock answered. Caleb opened the case and removed one sheet. Not the signature page. A photocopy of the service log. Hollis read it. Maintenance Shed B again. Standard parcel delivery location, Caleb said. For legal notice? We have a hearing in 2 hours if he wants to petition. At noon, the auction begins, Elijah said. Registration begins at 11, Caleb corrected. Hollis looked at him. You enjoy small distinctions. No, Sheriff, I depend on them. At 9:26 a.m., Elijah walked out with no charge and no apology. Pike followed him. I didn't see him take it until after, Pike said. Elijah slid Lena's ring back on the chain. Write that before noon. Outside, Rachel waited under the awning. They let you go? They never said they were keeping me. That's not the same thing. No. Sheriff Hollis came down the steps with a sealed envelope. Judge Porter will review an emergency hold if she has proof of defective notice and ownership dispute before noon. Not rumor. Proof. Rachel lifted her phone. We have photos. You need certified records. Elijah checked the courthouse clock. 9:31. Beatrice. She'll help if she can, Hollis said, but I can't stop a civil sale on what I feel. I didn't ask you to. No? Hollis held his gaze. That's why I'm still listening. Across the parking lot, Caleb spoke beside Marlene's white SUV. Late emotions do not cancel a lien sale. Tell Todd to keep bidders in the room. Marlene's reply was too faint, but Caleb's answer was not. No, don't mention the wife's signature again. Rachel's mouth opened. Elijah touched her sleeve. Record from now on. Don't chase what's already gone. At 10:04, Elijah reached the cabin. The door stuck in its frame. Inside, the air held cedar, old paper, and the faint lavender soap Maya kept under the sink. He set the folder on the kitchen table and opened the lower closet. The cedar box sat behind winter blankets. Dust coated the brass corners. His thumb left a clean half-moon when he pulled it free. Rachel stood in the doorway. What is it? Lena kept better maps than the county. He lifted the lid. A dried ribbon lay on top, then tax postcards, a ferry schedule, a child's drawing of a blue lake, and 3 stick figures. Maya had written family land in purple crayon. Rachel looked away. Elijah unfolded the shoreline map last. The paper crackled in the kitchen. 3 parcels were circled in blue pencil: 7C, 7D, North Point. Beside them, in Lena's handwriting, were 2 words: not HOA. Rachel whispered, "Is that enough?" He turned the map over. A county index number was written on the back, followed by Beatrice Shaw's initials from 20 years earlier. Elijah reached for the phone. "It has to be." "Beatrice Shaw," Elijah said when the call connected. "Turn over old map index for Mercer Lake Trust." Rachel stood in his kitchen doorway with rain on her sleeves. The cedar box lay open, breathing out dust and lavender soap. On speaker, Beatrice's chair squeaked. "Say that name again." "Mercer Lake Trust, May 14th, 2006. Your initials are on the back." Keys clicked fast. "Elijah, why didn't you tell them?" He looked at the blue pencil circles. "Because land works better when people think it belongs to a promise, not a man." Rachel stared. "You own those lots?" "The trust does." "And you control it?" "Lena and I created it after diagnosis. North Point was for school walks, fishing access, scholarships. She didn't want gates where kids skipped stones." Beatrice came back. "I found the index shell, not in the lean batch. Charitable preservation." Rachel gripped the chair. "So Marlene can't sell it?" "Not without making the record look like something else." At 10:19, they reached the records office by the side entrance. Beatrice unlocked it with a green coiled key. The lobby smelled of wet coats and toner. "No pens," Beatrice warned. "If Caleb calls, I am finding plats." Rachel raised both hands. "I brought my phone in fear." "Fear I understand." Beatrice spread 3 folders beneath the old lamp. The bulb flickered over a blue received stamp. The word darkened as paper flattened. Elijah kept his finger near it. "That stamp saved us once." "From who?" "Developers." "And now?" He did not answer. Rachel photographed the deed, preservation clause, mailing address, and trustee page. "Notices must go to the trust office or registered agent. The shed is neither." Her printer thumped. Pages slid out warm, smelling of ink. Beatrice stamped certified copy in blue, leaving a wet shine. The phone rang. "HOA Council," Beatrice said. Elijah closed the cedar box lid. "Let it ring." "I can't." She picked up. "Records office." "No, Mr. Trent, I cannot discuss a citizen's request. I will not hold public documents from the public." Rachel's phone buzzed. She read the message and went still. "What?" Elijah asked. "Todd opened registration early. Marlene said the sheriff resolved it." Beatrice hung up hard enough to rattle the stamp. "She said that?" "Arthur texted. People are signing deposits." Elijah touched the table edge. The wood was rough under his palm. "Elijah," Beatrice said, "one more thing." She slid a thin card from the oldest folder. Original receipt ledger. Lena filed a correction after the ridge expansion. Same parcels, same legal description. Rachel leaned over it. Another signature. "That one is hers," Elijah said. His voice barely cleared the printer's hum. Beatrice placed the copies in a brown envelope and stamped the flap. Received appeared again, small and final. At 10:47, Sheriff Hollis answered. "I have certified copies," Elijah said. "Bring them to the courthouse?" "No time. Registration started." "Then bring them to the clubhouse. I'll call Judge Porter from the road." Rachel grabbed her coat. Beatrice pushed the envelope into Elijah's hands. "Don't let them take the lake," she said. He tucked the map against his chest. It was never the lake they wanted. Arthur Bell was waiting by the clubhouse road with a laptop under his raincoat. "You said cameras," Rachel called. "One old camera," Arthur said. "Garage light trips when a raccoon looks guilty." Elijah parked beneath a dripping maple. The envelope from Beatrice rested inside his jacket. Across the ridge, the lot filled with cars. Arthur opened the laptop on his knees. Dust and pipe tobacco rose from the keyboard. Yesterday, 6:12 p.m. A blue screen flickered, then showed his garage view of the service lane. Rain dotted the lens. A woman in a red vest stepped from a golf cart, looked both ways, and taped a white packet to Maintenance Shed B. Rachel leaned close. "Dana Price." "Marlene's niece," Arthur said. Elijah watched the packet flutter on the shed door. In the black edge of the screen, his face floated over the image. "Again," he said. Arthur replayed it. Dana never walked toward Elijah's cabin, never approached the registered mailbox, never knocked. Rachel whispered. They avoided it. Arthur's phone buzzed. He read the message. Marlene says bidders should ignore last-minute harassment. Save the video. Copied twice, Arthur said. At 11:08, Rachel's kitchen smelled of tea and wet sleeves. She opened her HOA recording while Arthur balanced the laptop near the window for signal. I felt stupid keeping this. Deleting things too early is worse. The speakers crackled. Marlene's voice came out thin and clear. By the time he understands, buyers will own the view. Rachel's hand froze above the trackpad. On the screen, Elijah saw his reflection cut by the pause bar. Arthur whispered, "That's her." Rachel clipped the audio and sent it with the garage footage and Beatrice's scans. Her phone rang before the progress circle finished. Sheriff Hollis said, "I have it. Mr. Mercer, I need a signed statement. Facts only. No guesses. I can give facts. I'm outside the clubhouse with Investigator Dale. Judge Porter wants chain of custody on the video." Arthur reached for the laptop. "My garage? My camera? I'll swear to it." "Bring him," Hollis said. "And hurry." At 11:26, the clubhouse foyer smelled of coffee, wet wool, and perfume. Registration tables blocked the hallway. Todd Halverson smiled at bidders, but his eyes moved to Elijah's envelope. Marlene stepped into his path. "No disruptions." Sheriff Hollis came through the side door. "He's here to give a statement." "During my auction?" "Before your auction becomes evidence." Todd's microphone popped in the ballroom. "Ladies and gentlemen, bidding will begin shortly." Investigator Marcus Dale, broad-shouldered, led them into a side office. Printer heat filled the room. Elijah placed the envelope, shoreline map, and Lena's photograph on the desk. Dale slid a form forward. "Start with the notice address." Elijah picked up the pen. The tip hovered above the line. His hand trembled. Rachel shifted her chair, blocking the glass wall from the foyer. Arthur studied his shoes. Dale lowered his voice. "Take your time." Outside, Todd said, "Parcel registration is now closed." Elijah pressed the pen down. The first letter came out thin, almost broken, then steadied when Sheriff Hollis laid Arthur's video drive beside Lena's photograph. "Write your name where the line begins," Investigator Dale said. Elijah finished the statement at 11:39. The pen left a dark groove in paper. Outside, Todd Halverson's microphone snapped and hummed. "Ladies and gentlemen, bidding will begin with Parcel 7C." Sheriff Hollis took the signed page. "Stay near me." Marlene opened the door. "No, he stays behind the rope. If he wants to observe, He observes like everyone else who owes this community money. Rachel stood. He just gave sworn evidence. He gave a story. Arthur's chair scraped. Marlene. Sit down, Arthur. Elijah gathered the envelope, trust deed, and Lena's photograph. He slid the photo into his folder, then changed his mind and kept it in his hand. I'll stand where the public stands, he said. The ballroom had been rearranged. Rows of chairs faced Todd's green felt table. Numbered paddles flashed under chandelier light. The room smelled of hot coffee, damp coats, and ink. Vernon Sykes, 58, a private buyer with polished shoes and a silver watch too loose on his wrist, leaned toward Caleb. This dispute won't cloud title, correct? Caleb smiled without showing teeth. The association followed procedure. Any personal disagreement can be handled after closing. Elijah heard the word personal settle across the room. Linda Carver sat 2 rows back, scarf twisted in her hands. I didn't know it was yours. Most people didn't. Why didn't you say? He looked toward rain sliding down the windows. Would it have changed how they spoke? Linda lowered her eyes. Todd lifted the gavel. Opening bid, $1.6 million. A paddle rose. Another followed. Rachel stood at the side wall, phone down, but recording. Arthur held the laptop bag against his chest. Marlene moved close to Elijah. Behind the rope. He was already there. She pinched the cord and tugged it so it brushed his jacket. Not leaning over it. The rope swayed between them. Elijah did not step back. Todd's voice climbed. $2 million. 2-1. Do I hear 2-2? Vernon raised his paddle. 2-2. Sheriff Hollis spoke into her phone. Judge Porter, they've begun. Caleb crossed to her. Without a signed order, Sheriff, you cannot chill lawful bidders. Then stop giving me reasons to need one. Marlene faced the room. Certain parties have delayed this community for years. Elijah's thumb brushed Lena's photograph. Todd glanced at Marlene. Parcel 7C at 2.4. Going once. Wait, Rachel said. Marlene snapped. No comments from observers. Rachel raised one printed page. That parcel number doesn't match the deed Caleb gave bidders. A murmur moved through the chairs. Caleb reached for it. That's not yours. It came from your packet. Todd's gavel hovered. Counsel? Proceed, Marlene said. Sheriff Hollis ended the call and stepped into the aisle. Mr. Halverson, pause bidding. Todd swallowed. I have 2.4 on record. Then keep it unstruck. Marlene walked toward him, heels clicking hard enough to beat the rain. Finish the call. Elijah looked at the rope still swinging gently from her hand. At the back of the room, the side door opened, and Investigator Dale entered with a folded order bearing the judge's wet signature. Investigator Dale unfolded the order with hands that did not hurry. Rainwater darkened the lower corner. Judge Porter's signature still looked glossy under the chandelier. Todd Halverson kept his gavel lifted, elbow trembling, while the last bid hung in the room. Mr. Halverson, Sheriff Hollis said, pause the auction. Marlene Price stepped between them. No, the final bid has been called. Record it, Todd. Todd looked from her to the sheriff. Marlene, record it. Dale laid the order on the green felt. Temporary hold pending review of notice and ownership defects. Caleb's face tightened. A judge's order does not prove fraud. No one said that word yet. Chairs creaked. Coffee cups stopped halfway to mouths. Elijah stood behind the rope, Lena's photograph in one hand, the brown envelope beneath his arm. Vernon Sykes lowered his paddle. Counsel, is title clean? Caleb adjusted his glasses. Procedural delay. Marlene faced the room. Mr. Mercer has manipulated sympathy. This community has rules. Elijah looked at her, then at the gavel. Those lots were never yours to sell. People leaned forward. Todd lowered the gavel to the felt. It touched the cloth without striking. The wooden head left a dent in the green surface. Dale opened a black folder. Parcel 7C, 7D, and North Point are recorded to Mercer Lake Trust. Notices go to the trust office or registered agent, not Maintenance Shed B. That shed is on site, Marlene said. A shed is not an agent. Rachel stood near the wall. It was taped there after hours. We have video. Caleb snapped. Unauthenticated. Arthur Bell raised one hand. It came from my garage camera. You can dislike the angle, counselor, but it's my garage. Arthur's ears reddened, but he did not sit. Dale slid out another page. The HOA file contains an owner acknowledgement dated August 3rd, 2024, signed with the name Lena Mercer. The room changed before he finished. Not loudly, just a tightening, a collective intake that pulled warmth from the air. Marlene stared at Elijah. That document was supplied by counsel. Caleb said, by the association. Dale looked at him. Lena Mercer died in 2022. Linda covered her mouth with her scarf. Elijah did not move. His thumb rested over Lena's face in the photo. Sheriff Hollis asked, "Who submitted the acknowledgement?" Caleb opened his mouth, then shut it. Marlene's voice turned thin. Old signatures get transferred. Dead people do not acknowledge current notices, Dale said. Todd backed away. I was told liens were clear. You were told to sell, Hollis said. Stop. Vernon stood. I want my deposit held. So do I, another bidder said. Dale set copies beside the lowered gavel. The trust deed, the false mailing log, the signature comparison. Sheriff, based on probable cause for document tampering, auction materials need to be preserved. Marlene reached for the false log. That is association property. Hollis caught her wrist before her fingers touched the page. It is evidence now. Todd set the microphone down. It knocked through the speakers. Elijah folded Lena's photograph and placed it inside his jacket. The gavel lay on the felt, close enough to reach, useless unless someone dared to lift it again. Don't touch another page, Sheriff Hollis said. Marlene's hand stopped above the false receipt. The microphone hummed on Todd's table. Every bidder seemed to hold the same breath. Caleb stepped back. I prepared what the board provided. Marlene turned on him. You certified it. You authorized the mailing list. Investigator Dale looked between them. Then no one leaves with documents. Todd Halverson's face had gone pale. My role was auction services. You opened registration after notice of dispute, Hollis said. I was told the sheriff had resolved it. Elijah stood behind the rope with the brown envelope under his arm. It brushed his jacket. He looked at the gavel lying quiet on green felt. Vernon Sykes dropped his paddle onto a chair. I want my deposit receipt. Linda Carver rose. Marlene, tell them it was a mistake. Marlene gave a thin laugh. This room is not qualified to judge procedure. Arthur said, We know a dead woman didn't sign. The words landed harder than a shout. Dale tapped his tablet. Ms. Kim, play the audio. Rachel connected her phone to the speaker. Static cracked. Then Marlene's recorded voice filled the room. By the time he understands, buyers will own the view. Rachel stopped the clip. There's more. Marlene looked toward Dana Price near the back wall. Dana, 27, in a red vest with rain-dark curls stuck to her cheek, held a clipboard against her stomach. Dana, Marlene said, you handled service deliveries. Dana swallowed. You told me to use Shed B. I told you to follow the list. You texted it. You said not to go near his cabin because he'd make a scene. Caleb snapped his briefcase shut. Deputy Pike stepped in front of it. Hollis said, "Open it. This is privileged. It is evidence." Dale laid clear sleeves on the table. Plastic crackled in silence. He sealed the mailing log, signature page, Caleb's packet, and Arthur's drive. Marlene's voice sharpened. "You are turning an administrative error into theater." Hollis removed a folded paper from her jacket. "Marlene Price, you are under arrest on suspicion of document tampering and attempted unlawful conversion of property." A chair scraped. Linda flinched. Marlene lifted her chin. "You cannot do this here." "I can." "In front of my neighbors?" "You brought them here to bid." Marlene looked toward Elijah as if the room belonged to him now. He did not answer. He bent down. Lena's photograph had slipped from his jacket and fallen near a folding chair, face down on the polished floor. A shoe had stopped inches from it. Elijah picked it up with both hands. The room watched him wipe dust from the corner with his thumb. Todd whispered, "Mr. Mercer, I didn't know." Elijah placed the photograph inside his folder. "You didn't ask." Dale handed Todd a notice. "Your materials are under review. The licensing board has been notified. You are suspended pending investigation." Todd sat as if the chair had moved under him. Pike guided Caleb toward the side office. Dana stayed by the wall, crying without sound. Hollis escorted Marlene out. No one spoke over the rain on the windows and the dull buzz of the abandoned microphone. The final bid card still lay beside the silent gavel, unsigned. The old HOA charter came down with a soft rip of tape at 6:05 p.m. No one clapped. The clubhouse smelled of fresh paint, burned coffee, and rain drying in wool coats. A pale rectangle remained where the framed rules had hung for 14 years. Judge Porter stood beside the board table. "This is not a punishment meeting," she said. "This is a repair meeting." Arthur Bell muttered, "Feels late for repairs." Elijah stood near the side aisle with Maya beside him. Lena's photograph rested in his inside pocket. The acting board chair, Linda Carver, unfolded a paper. Independent review found 32 lien notices over 6 years with incomplete mailing records. A woman whispered, 32? Some were corrected, Linda said. Some were not. Rachel sat with a notebook. Say the rest. Linda swallowed. 3 owners paid penalties they may not have owed. 2 sold under pressure before appeal windows closed. Maya's shoulder touched Elijah's sleeve. Judge Porter nodded to him. Mr. Mercer, you requested time. Elijah stepped forward. Caleb Trent sat at the back with his attorney. Dana Price stared at her hands. Marlene's chair was empty. Elijah placed 1 sheet on the table. I'm not here to ask for anyone to be shamed twice, but no board should be able to turn confusion into property. Linda kept her eyes on the paper. What do you want changed? Certified notice to the registered owner. Plain language letters. 10 days for outside review before lien sale. Public parcel numbers. No auctioneer hired until county confirms title. Rachel added, and recordings of enforcement hearings. Arthur raised his hand. And a homeowner advocate who isn't picked by the board. What? Arthur said when heads turned. I'm old, not decorative. A small breath of laughter moved through the room and disappeared. Judge Porter wrote on a yellow pad. The county can require a pre-sale affidavit and refer disputed notices to a housing clinic. Linda looked at Elijah. Would the trust fund that clinic? Maya turned sharply. After what they did? Elijah touched the table edge. If the clinic is independent. Dad. People hurt by the same door still need a way through it. Maya folded her arms, but her chin trembled once. Dana stood. I taped the notices where I was told. I knew it felt wrong. Rachel closed her notebook. Feeling wrong should stop something, not become a memory. Dana nodded and sat. A worker removed the last nail from the wall. The pale rectangle looked brighter than the paint around it, a ghost of the old frame. Linda pinned a temporary notice in its place. New lion and hearing procedures. The paper curled at the bottom. Arthur squinted. Print's too small. I'll make it larger, Linda said. And translate it, Elijah said. Judge Porter marked another note. Done. Outside, lake wind pressed wet leaves against the glass. Linda faced the room. All in favor of emergency adoption pending county approval? Hands lifted slowly. Rachel raised hers. Arthur raised his. Maya looked at Elijah, then raised hers too. Elijah did not. Linda noticed. Mr. Mercer? I'm not a board member. You're a homeowner. He looked at the new paper and the shadow around it. Then I'll read it first. By March, the birch beside the lake had small green leaves, and Maya tied the cloth knot higher on the stake. Too tight? She asked. Elijah touched the strip. No, she'd approve. The scholarship table stood under a white tent near the shore, not inside the clubhouse. 5 students waited with envelopes, while parents balanced paper cups and tried not to stare at the man who had nearly lost the land beneath their shoes. The lake smelled of mud and cedar. Wind made the programs flutter. Linda Carver handed Maya the first envelope. Mercer Lake Trust Award. Maya read the student's name, then looked toward Elijah. He gave one small nod. Arthur Bell stood behind the last row, with his cane hooked over his arm. Rachel Kim had a camera and a notebook. When the first student shook Maya's hand, Arthur wiped his glasses with his sleeve. After the ceremony, Sheriff Hollis walked with Elijah to the dock. County report goes public Friday, she said. Every HOA lien sale now needs title confirmation and outside notice review. And recordings? Mandatory. Translation access, too. He watched 2 children reach for flat stones. Good. Hollis waited. Marlene accepted a plea. Restitution, probation, community service outside Briar Lake, and she can't serve on any board handling property funds. Elijah absorbed it. Her mother? With her sister. Social services checked in. He nodded once. That part matters. Caleb's license is under supervised practice for 2 years. Todd paid refunds and lost auction privileges in the county. Dana testified. She's working at the library now. At the clubhouse that afternoon, the old rope line from the auction had been cut into short pieces and placed in a drawer for the audit file. The wall carried a larger notice, printed in 3 languages. Rachel read it aloud to a man who had never attended a meeting before. No sale without confirmed owner notice, she said. No closed packet. No silent vote. Arthur pointed at the bottom. And no print fit only for hawks. Linda smiled tiredly. 12-point minimum. You won. I am accustomed to delayed victories. Maya stood near the refreshment table while 2 girls from choir came over. One said, "Your speech was good." I didn't give a speech. You said your mom drew the lake so people could find each other. Maya looked through the window at Elijah on the path. That was enough. In April, letters began arriving at the cabin. 3 from Briar Lake homeowners, 1 from a woman 2 counties away. Then a thick envelope from a retired couple who had paid fees they did not understand. Elijah opened them at the kitchen table with the cedar box beside him. Rachel stopped by with copies of the public report. You don't have to answer all of those. I know. Will you? Some. He placed Lena's photograph in a simple wooden frame instead of folding it back into his jacket. In it, she still stood barefoot on the unfinished dock, holding the rolled map like a secret and a promise at the same time. Maya came in quietly. Dad? I'm not ashamed that people know. The clock ticked once over the sink. Elijah turned the frame toward her. Neither am I. That evening, Elijah carried the framed photo to the bench under the birch. He set it there while Maya skipped one stone across the water. It bounced twice, then disappeared without a sound. If this story stayed with you, share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever seen a family, neighbor, or quiet homeowner pressured by people who thought rules mattered more than truth? Tell us what happened and what finally changed. Share this story with someone who believes dignity should never depend on status, money, or a seat at the table. And subscribe for more stories about justice, quiet resilience, and the kind of systemic change that begins when one person refuses to disappear. Your voice might help someone recognize the same pattern before it is too late, and your support helps these stories reach people who need that reminder.